future, we're going to be turning up, and they're going to say, can you just look at my finger? And it's going to be some sort of camera and a finger.
Then it'd be truly digital.
Yes, clever, good. That's a good joke.
Put that one in the show.
I'm going to write that down.
I'll begin by asking you, Mr. Idle, if you could talk a little bit about how this whole project came together, the inception of the idea of doing a radio stage play and putting together this fantastic cast.
Yeah, explain that.
Thank you very much.
Or you can talk about anything you'd like.
It's kind of a boring thing. They've heard me do it.
No,
it started as a movie
Apocalypse
called
Now.
Apocalypse.
Influenced by Apocalypse Now. This is very much like Apocalypse Now, done in the 20s with a piano. Wouldn't you say?
Except in Welsh. It was a movie called The Remains of the Piano, which was a piss steak of merchant ivory, and that was up to about the 90s. And then it kind of went away, and then I kind of came back, so I thought, there's a lot of funny characters in this. Let's see if I can do it. I went to people like Eddie, who very kindly did it about 4, 5, 6 years ago at the Ricardo Montalban. And it was a great cast with Billy Connolly, and they got enormous laughs, and I was even more confused, because then I didn't know whether it was funny itself, or because they were so funny. And I thought, well, how can I do this again? Because I couldn't get them forever. So I thought, well, we'll do it as a concert, and we'll film it, and we'll do it for 4 nights with 2,000 people, and then we'll know if it's funny or not. And then we dragged in Sophie, and we dragged in Russell Brand to play the 2 young, lovely people.
Who played Russell's role before?
Jim Piddock. So you're slightly older, you know, so we needed a younger Dick.
Yeah, and for you two as performers, what was it like being involved? Because I was saying to Russell, our generation never really had, a radio stage play. Don't know what that was. What's it like for you as performers to be a part of something like that?
Well, radio was obviously the main entertainment in Britain up to the 70s and the 80s. We didn't have television until then. And so we know exactly what these entertaining plays. This is basically how Britain was until the Beatles.
Until the Beatles.
Yeah. Actually, no, that's not true. But what it is true is in South Africa, under apartheid, they had radio until the 70s. You know?
Well, I didn't have television until the Queen was coronated. I was 12.
52.
I was 12. Well, all of Python grew up only with radio.
Amazing.
And radio comedy is far more surreal. It will allow you to do a concept like Burning the Thames. It can take language and force your imagination to go other places. And so I've always loved radio.
It's always been my favourite medium, definitely, to acting. I love it.
It's not mine is I like film.
Why?
Well, I just could do like
Show off.
No, I love Spike Milligan, who was maybe the godfather of alternative comedy, maybe world alternative comedy, through this guy Spike Milligan, who anyway influenced the Pythons. And you would say, no, okay, you're here, and suddenly we go to outer space. God, it's cold out here in outer space. Then we come back, and you could do that quite easily without building sets. That was the brilliant thing, and you could explore your mind. But I just love film because it's fun. So the fact that we're filming it is very nice.
But also, you're very comfortable on stage. I mean, as a comedian, so I would imagine the stage is something you're used to.
Ego can live on the stage. Something to do with ego problems, desperation to be loved. It's the driving thing. But I grew up on Eric's Python stuff, and Billy Connolly's stuff, and Tim Curry's stuff, and Tracy Ullman's stuff, and just about everyone's stuff. And they're all in
now
on
you're
the
inspired
stage.
by me.
I'm very much inspired by Helen of Troy here.
Main muse.
And especially the dress, which has got 2 cuts here, which you can just about see.
Yes.
And she keeps putting it over her one leg. She only has one leg when she puts it. So,
you're beautiful one-legged woman.
Actually, they both went to the Footlights. The Footlights, which is a Cambridge University, a germinating place for comedy. And she used to do stand-up comedy.
I did. I braved it in Edinburgh Festival once. We were there doing the Footlight show, and there was a sort of night where you could sort of book yourself in, and 3 of the other Footlighters did it. And I thought, I've got to be brave, I've got to do it. And I did about 7 minutes, and it was unbelievably brilliant and exciting. But I thought, if I go back and it's bad, I'll kill myself. Because I didn't think I could cope with people not laughing. I thought that would be completely mortifying.
Was that your total thing? 7 minutes? That's your
I did
own
7
career?
minutes.
Oh, I thought you used to do loads of stuff. 7 minutes is not quite.
It is.
But go out on top. She went out on top. She had a good performance.
But good
I wanna do it
singing.
again.
Good singing. Not so good on timing.
That's so unfair, that one line.
Just one line which you would tell. I kept picking up on
He
it.
never lets go, by the way.
I know
by
he
the
doesn't.
way, he never
I did it
stops.
beautifully.
Don't start him, because he never gives up.
There's a thing about
15
Scrabble.
years can pass, and he'll go, Not to go
I
on
know
timing,
you will.
though.
I know you will.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask about the improvisation in this because I could tell there's a couple times where things would happen and you made a few comments and you would go off book. Talk a little bit about that and you know, I'm just imagine you encouraged that or didn't encourage
no,
it.
If you write a script, everyone's supposed to keep to the book. Whereas if you have discovered Monty Python, you're supposed to go where your heart goes. So the thing I think happened with Python probably on the live shows, would sometimes people go off book and
Only in one sketch, but they were not forbidden to go. I mean, I realised early on that this was going to go a little crackers, and I wanted it to go crackers, and it did, and they took it, and I didn't
The
have to
audience loved
encourage
it
them.
when it went off
I only have to encourage them to come back, so we have something to edit. There's a sort of shape. But you know, they made me laugh my ass off on stage. I mean, it would just go off, and then sometimes it was funny, and sometimes, occasionally, somebody would die. You know, like Russell would halfway through, and you have to rescue him. But he never dies. And he would
there was one or twice I just thought, I don't like that line, I'm going to change it. And I couldn't test it until I was in front of the audience. And sometimes it would and sometimes it wouldn't. But it's
I thought it was funny when it didn't.
Yeah.
It's when it doesn't.
Well, it was, I'd have to look at it and go, it's like turning to your idols, as you would, and saying, I'm sorry, I had to do that. But I think that's what Python would have wanted. That's what...
Oh, I think the show needs that.
essence of
That's what makes this show special. It's comedians doing a play, and they don't have to stay on book. And the funniest thing I ever saw was Spike Milligan doing Oblomov, which was a play, and it died. He got bad reviews. So they opened it the next night, and Spike was allowed to do whatever he wanted to. So the play would continue, then he'd say, stop things, talk to the audience, he'd fly up and down, then the play would go on, then he'd talk to the audience, and it was just
Amazing.
a brilliant thing. And in a way, this was sort of happening like that too, with various people being brilliantly funny, partly on the book and partly not.
Yeah. There's some material in the piece, as Brits would say, that you have a go at some Americans with the Kardashians and Sarah Palin and some of that stuff.
Well,
Right.
the Kardashians are not Americans, right?
I think they are.
They're
from another planet, I think.
Exactly. They're Star Trek The Next Generation. They are mentioned in there. Or is that a different name? But I thought that was...
We weren't having a go at
Romans.
Americans. It was sort of people who are in the sort of public
It's a
conscience
cheap
at the
laugh,
moment.
actually. It's a
It
cheap
is,
gag,
but
I'm sorry.
it gets a big laugh.
Of course it does, and so I'm reluctant to cut it. But the better part of me would have probably excised those references.
No, I think
you didn't need it, but
it's good reference. We have a go at the Tea Party. I think, do we have a go?
And most Americans would have a go at those.
We do all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not us being English. It's weirdo baiting rather than America
it
baiting.
is the Mad Hatter's Tea Party when all said and done.
Exactly, that's what the Tea Party's named
Actually,
after.
the Mad Haters Tea Party is what
Yes,
they are.
it is. And I think, in fact, what we're having it going at is Republicans and not actually Americans.
Americans,
Just
yeah.
Republicans.
Yeah.
Who,
Well, as an American, I wasn't offended. I find it
good.
very,
Are you
very
a
funny.
Republican?
No.
there we go.
I also want to ask you about the music. Sophie, you have a lovely singing voice, and
How
very,
kind of
very,
you.
yeah, absolutely. I would ask you both, all of you guys, about sort of Eric sort of incorporating the music. Eddie, you don't think she has a lovely singing
Somewhere
voice?
here there should be a singing voice. There should be. My mother was a singer. There should be a singing voice, but I've never.
She's shy singing. She has a beautiful voice, as you say.
And music was always a very big component of Python. Has that always been important?
Well, also,
He was
a very big component of Spamalot. So John Dupre and I wrote the songs for this, and John plays the piano. You know, that's my...
It's very exciting singing one of his songs. It's a wonderful feeling.
I bet.
very exciting.
Yeah, and it seemed the audience were really into it too that night.
It breaks it up. It's nice. If you heard a bit of play and a bit of comedy and a bit of laugh, to have music and a song gives them a breather, and then you're back into the funny stuff. And musical comedy I love best because it works like that. Bit of a song, some laughs,
bit
bit of a
cabaret.
song, bring on the girls, laugh. You know, I love all that.
Yeah, bring on the girls. It's always good. Working at how in a stand-up show, you can.
Yeah, but that's
bring
the
on
difficulty.
girls. I work
Yeah.
quite hard on this.
I think you do it by bringing on a chorus line. So you do a bit of stand-up, so bring on the chorus line, like, do da 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 da, straight across, and then you go on
And the
talking.
stand-up, no, I think it can only be the entrance. It can only be the entrance and the exit that you have a massive amount of.
He's here tonight.
Wearing
Here he
much
is.
Well, Eric, you mentioned Spamalot. I was curious, any thoughts of maybe doing a Broadway or doing a road show of this?
Well, the difficult for me, she wants to do it, but the difficult for me is
So
I
does
cannot
everyone.
get, no,
Yes,
you
they
couldn't
do.
get this cast
Yes,
together.
you could. Eddie would do it. He's free.
It is
It is free.
It is a tricky thing. It is a tricky thing because everyone's trying to juggle their own things. It's just like the history of Python. In the end, all the individuals want to go and do their things. It's tricky keeping a whole group of people together. Having been a 4-person group and a 2-person group, we used to have meetings when I was a double act to discuss when we would have a meeting to discuss what we would change in the show. It gets into that thing, and this becomes financial and.
It's very difficult, especially they've all got their own. Billy Connor's on tour here. Russell's doing that. Eddie's doing this. It's hard to get them together.
Would you recast? Would you possibly do a roadshow cast kind of thing?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I want to see how this goes first, because this is as far as my thinking. I think you do it a step at a time. You say, well, this is funny. Did people find this funny? Is there an extension to it? Maybe. Who knows? But let's see if this lands first.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Finally, I just would like to ask for Eddie and Sophie what it was like working with such a, I would imagine, a big idol to you, no pun intended, Eric Idle, and the rest of the cast, and to Eric putting together this cast and having Tracy Ullman and Tim Curry and Russell and Eddie and Sophie and all these, Jane and all these wonderful people in your production.
What was the question?
The experience of just working with some of your idols and peers.
Oh, right. I thought it was. I got the first part. I thought the second part.
Second part is for Eric.
The second part.
Second part's for Eric.
The first part, yes, absolutely.
What?
I don't know. I'm just covering all the things.
That was good. You did good.
Yes. Second part, no. What are you going to go for?
Second part, no.
No.
I think you'd agree.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yes. First part, yes. Second part, no.
It's wonderful to work with people that you have looked up to for all the years. If they are better than you on stage, that is hellish, and so you wish to just compete with them and win. In the end, it's just an individual. Maybe everyone else wasn't doing that, but I'm just a little bastard like this. No, it's fun. It's great because I said before, we're gladiators. It's gladiators of the spoken word, and so you do want to put things in. I mean, there's a bit in it where Tracy Ullman comes up and just screams something, so I got to go off and fucking kill Tracy. And that's kind of fun. It's good for us to have certain tensions between us, which can be perceived or actually semi-real, and you just play on those, and it's fun because I know it's everyone played their roles. They had, they felt they could go off in a certain direction and other people might be going, I don't know why they're doing that. And I can sense some of this going on, and that's great. I like that tension in it. I would say lines that Eric did not want me to say.
I didn't feel competitive. I felt quite actressy and quite serious about my part. And so I stuck in my character and let everyone ping off around me and felt very excited looking at the stage with all these lot and felt very starstruck and very happy to be there.
Pinging was what we would do.
Excellent. Guys, it was great.
Yeah,
thank you so much. Well, yeah, we're putting together. I think you kind of did about putting together cast.
That was your question.
Yeah. Well, that was for you too, putting together this cast and having Tracy and all these people together.
I mean, it's one thing I loved about Peter Cook is he always stayed in touch with the younger generation of comedians.
For Americans, we should say Peter Cook was one of the early protagonists of this great stuff.
Great comedian. So I think it's nice when you stay in touch with the other younger generation of people doing it. And it's wonderful, and then you feel that this is a tradition and not just you and about you. This is something that's going to go on long after you're gone, and I like that.
Excellent.